to the podcast, hablemos de lo nuevo. 40Gs, by the G's, que pasa en el terreno. Vienen jugadores y se van, traiga lo nuevo, a huevo. Doesn't matter where you from, Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua. Todo mi latino, come and listen for an hour. TikTok, que traemos lo que quiere, todo lo que pasa dentro y fuera de las redes. Really? You don't know what it is. Reportamos con la lupa what we see at the digs. En las buenas y en las malas yo diré la verdad. Si cometen un error o tienen habilidad, la calidad del rival cuando viene a jugar. Facts. Yo no me muerdo la lengua. Got love for the crest in the city I came from. Los campeones de campeones y con copas mi race. No empezamos el programa, soy la voz de LA One. Soy la voz de LA One. Love. Yeah.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all of you LA Galaxy fans. And today, you might be needing a little bit of extra love. This one goes out to all you MLS fans as well. Thank you all for being here today. We do appreciate it. Today, we're going to start off our match reactions this year with group therapy, aka Sadful Hours, as the LA Galaxy lost their home and season opener 2-0 to expansion side San Diego FC on Sunday, February 23rd. This is a result that sees the Galaxy occupy a place towards the bottom of the table, 13th to be exact, and face more than just a bit of embarrassment as they looked like the new team on the pitch yesterday, not one that had just hung a championship banner and celebrated a title. We'll react to what went wrong, if the starting lineup was spot on, answer if there's an easy fix and how long it might take, and whether these types of results are the new normal in light of the key departures and injuries at the moment. Plus, we got an update on Mateo's Nascimento and when he might be available for the Galaxy. Eso and mucho más tonight. But let me introduce myself. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob Halon. You can always find my written work at the Sporting Tribune and Extra Time Talk, and you can find me online at El Escudero de LA. And of course, my co-host is right next to me, as always, El Gitano Perdido y El Yerno Guapo. Papa, Ananda, Kirana is back, and it's his birthday week, so show him some love. Yes, there was a loss, but it's Ananda's birthday, so we're going to show him some love. Everybody, you know what, when you get in chat, just give him a little clap. But yeah, Ananda, it was a loss opening day. How do you feel?
Yeah, typical Galaxy to give me an L on the week of my birthday. I guess they have time to make it up this weekend, right, against Vancouver, which we'll get to all that later because you know what? There's only one way from the bottom, and that's up, right, Papa? But nah, man. I mean, it was nice being back at the digs. We'll talk about sort of our pre-match experience and our experience at the digs in general. But in the end, man, I'm just gonna get right to my one-word match reaction because it's gonna say it all. And it was a sobering experience, right? I think for me, it was completely sobering. It took us from the highest of highs back down to earth real quick. I think it gave us a realistic picture, honestly, to see how the beginning and maybe middle stretches of this season are going to be for this team. I had a hunch coming into the season that it was not going to be easy. It was not going to fare well. I even said in all of my pre-match predictions, Rob, that we are fighting for top four. I'm not guaranteeing it because there's a lot that could happen. And boy, oh boy, did game one sort of pander to, unfortunately, my predispositions or what I was seeing in front of me, at least heading into the CVI and all the departures and our team getting completely gutted, right? So unfortunately it was that, but it was just sobering, man. It was just a slap, a gut punch, not necessarily a slap in the face, but it was just humbling and sobering. And we got a lot of work to do. This team has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, man. For me, my one word, and chat, go ahead and let us know what your one word match reaction is. Start sending them in. Before I get there, before I tell you what it was, right? I really was on that high, right? From like the, I said don't play the occasion, play the match, right? But it was really, really hard to do. But despite all that, my one word match reaction is shocking, because on paper, like I mentioned with Nag in our Último Sueño and in the preview pod with Tony Sanchez from San Diego Football, on paper this team has the quality to beat San Diego, and the fact that they played like they played is shocking. We'll go into more about why it looked as bad as it did. We did speak to Greg at length about it in the post match, but yeah, man, shocking for me.
Yeah, there's a couple of I don't know if that's a one-word match reaction. We'll get to Anthony's in a second, but Raul just said unprepared. That's interesting. We will maybe debate that as we go into some of our talking points, but that's interesting. And Anthony Martinez just says, "Damn." Shout out K Dot. Just damn.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good album. Yeah. Before we go any further, we had a stated goal of trying to get to 500 subscribers. You guys got there. Thank you so very much. We always say that you guys are the reason that we do this pod. I mean, or else it'd just be me and Ananda talking in front of our wives, and they'd just be really, really bored and probably kick us out of the room. But thank you so much for being a part of this community, just hanging out with us all the time, whether it's a win or a loss or a tie or MLS Cup. You guys have been there from the beginning, so thank you guys so much. Keep on subscribing. YouTube.com/@Lacuna Galaxiana, and always remember that we do have a couple of breakaway pods and episodes and stuff like that. So Profe Alex Ruiz and my co-host Ananda, because he's too shy to kind of like pump himself up, but they really do good work on these videos. They're about to put out their latest Los Galácticos video. This one is all about the midfield, which is going to be a hot topic tonight. So go ahead and check that one out. This is episode 5 of Los Galácticos by Anandita Quiriana and Profe Alex Ruiz. Thank you guys so very much for contributing to our Horchata Fund. Buymeacoffee.com/Lacuna Galaxiana. Although today it is actually a mango nectar. But thank you guys for contributing to the fund. And yeah, Ananda, I think we'll just go into announcements, but after you go ahead and hit your housekeeping.
Yeah, housekeeping per the usual. So of course, guys, again, we just wanted to thank you just for really just riding with us through our journey, right? It's crazy that we hit that 500 sub mark. This is Rob and I's 3rd season. I don't think you and I don't think we could have ever imagined, bro. I don't think we could have ever imagined, bro, that it would kind of just the journey would play out like this, right? Like winning the MLS Cup in the 2nd season from the doldrums of the boycott in our 1st season, and both of us having arguments about Vanny out or Klein out and all that stuff, right? It's just crazy journey, but we just want to thank you guys for being with us, for sticking with us, and onwards and upwards, man. Let's get to that 600, right? Let's ride the wave. Let's ride this momentum. And no, just couldn't thank you guys enough again. We really, really appreciate all your support. And of course, guys, if you haven't yet, of course, go ahead and give us that sub, give us that like. You can follow us on both of our socials there. Our personal handles are there on the screen. And of course, you can follow us on all the socials at Lacuna Galaxiana. And of course, Papa, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches.
There it is.
Y bienvenidos a Sad Foods Hours, el primero de... la primera hora del año de nueva temporada, man. So there we go.
Yeah, it's el primer Sad Food Hours, but luckily we're all together. Before we get to this game, give you guys a couple of announcements. It was assistant coach Dan Kalichman's birthday the other day. Happy birthday to the captain emeritus and Galaxy assistant coach, original 96er. He represented the Galaxy from 96 to 98. He debuted for the club during the Galaxy's first ever match and made 68 appearances. He turned 57 last Friday. Congratulations to him. Hopefully he was surrounded by friends and family. Shout out to the U18s and the U16s. Both teams beat the baby LAFCs in Los Traficitos. So the U18s won 4-2 with goals by Ricky Moreno, Kai Aina, and Adam Dunbar, and the U16s took a 3-2 win with goals by Aaron Medina and Max Steelman. Guys, we're still celebrating Black History Month, and as you guys know, we've been sharing with you one of the Comets cards each episode, so you guys get to know a little bit of your Galaxy Black history. Shout out to Matthew and Comets for providing these. Today, we are doing Jalen Neal, aka The Truth, one of my favorites. Just pleasure to know the man. He is a native of Lakewood, the Lord of Lakewood. He's the youngest center back to appear for the U.S. national team in a knockout round match at 19 years and 319 days. And he was named 2023 LA Galaxy Humanitarian of the Year for his community work in the city of Lakewood. He was actually in 2024 as well, and named for G2 a couple of years as well. Jalen, I know that he has a knock. Didn't play for Montreal, but hopefully he gets better soon. A shout out to Galaxy Mom. And he was your Black History Month Comets card of the day.
Saw Mama Neal in the stands as well. So it was good to see her back home, back at the digs. And yeah, it was cool, man. Made me miss Jalen that much more, to be fair.
Yeah, man. Always gonna miss him. Hopefully he comes back one day. That's like one of my like biggest heart's desires right there. LA Kings Galaxy Night is on the way Tuesday, March 11th. They are playing the New York Islanders, and tickets start at $29. Go ahead and hang out with your fellow G's at the Kings game. And if you can't, make sure to pull up to the next Blue, White, and Gold pop-up March 2nd. That's going to be at Common Space Brewery from 12 to 5. That's going to be a pet-friendly event, all ages, free, and there's going to be a watch party as your G's take on Vancouver at 2 p.m. Go ahead and make sure to get there and support all the independent Galaxy creators. All the supporter groups are going to be there as well, so go ahead and go around and talk to them. If you don't belong to a supporter group and you've always wondered, like, man, how do I join one? Just go up and talk to them at the Blue, White, and Gold. They'll let you know. You guys can sign up right then and there. Hopefully we see you guys there. Quick news hits, Ananda. The handle Transfer Room released their most valuable 11 by expected transfer fee, and 3 Galaxy players were on this list in the starting 11 by position. Gabriel Peck is actually on the left-hand side on this one. And he's valued at 11.1 million. Julian Aude is the left back, of course, valued at 3.9 million, and Ricky Puig is valued at 15 million, and he starts there in the midfield. And man, I wish I could have said that statement about this match coming up, this match reaction, because he was sorely needed. And yeah, man, we'll just get into it. But before we get into like the game proper, I mentioned that it was kind of hard, even though I canceled the Galaxy to not get carried away, play the match and not the occasion, to not do so. I mean, when I got there was festivities all around, people hugging each other, people laughing. I mean, it really felt like the first day of school, man. For you, what was that like moment like getting back to the digs?
The thing that popped out to me, I remember just driving up. I probably pulled in at about anywhere between 2 and 2:30. By the way, I did hear that parking was kind of a mess, especially if you got there a little bit late or towards the game. There were some folks that couldn't even get in until even the second half. So I think that's probably something they had to sort out. But I remember driving in there, and honestly, the vibe felt like MLS Cup. It felt like the last time I was there. And there was, everyone was tailgating in the parking lot, but it was a lot of people. Like, remember the sort of the ruckus, like around that, the corner there on the north side of the northwest corner where they have all like the installments and stuff. There was a lot of people there, man. There's a few installments. Everyone was tailgating, whether it's at the tailgate areas or in there, in the rows there in lot 13. And that's where I ended up parking, and got to see a few familiar faces. It was nice. It's what we said before on like, I think when we did the episode with Goals TV, right? It's like being at your tia's house, right? It's like coming back. It's that familiar feeling of the family, and like, saying hi and what's up to all your tios, your tias, your cousins, right? Like that's what it felt like again. So I mean, pre-match vibes were good. I mean, there was a lot of reason for optimism. Of course not. Like, we're defending MLS Cup champions. We were gonna raise a banner. We were going to, get rings, etc. So I think there was a lot to be happy about, to get up about it. And pre-match was fun, man. And then of course, walking into the stadium, it was nice to see the digs fully renovated as well.
Yeah, the digs, like I mentioned on a previous pod, it's gorgeous. They did a wonderful job with it, and I know that you said a couple times to me, like, "Hey, we need to get inside. We need to get seats. I want to catch this celebration and stuff like that." The celebration itself for me was really fun. Great to see Ricky there and doing his thing, and shout out to all the supporter group representatives and season ticket members that were there, walking that trophy down that made its way down Victoria Block, carried by the great Kobe Jones, who is getting a statue next year. Finally makes its way down all the way in the middle into the hands of Ricky Pooch, who, again, was sorely missed. But yeah, I mean, I loved that tifo that Ananda just put up. A shout out to Lars for their tifo as well. Built by legends, fueled by victory, showing the cups right there. I mean, again, there was just huge optimism going around. And like I mentioned, Ricky gets the trophy last, gets to hoist it in front of the hometown fans. And then the game starts. And things quickly kind of turn, Ananda.
And of course, we unveiled the banner, and I was right, probably just to the section over there in between 39 and 40, and that was nice. That was nice.
Oh, look at you making it about you.
I was like, where are they? I was like, where are they putting that? And I was like, oh, it's that thing. But then it's funny, you see that thing on the one on the left. I was like, okay, what are they putting there? What are they unveiling there? Like, what is this? So I was waiting for like 5 minutes, and it never came down. Anyways.
You were like, come on. And then when you were least expecting it came down.
Yeah, well, there was that other one in that picture on the left-hand side that was covered too. I'll pull it up again. See the one on the left there? I was like, okay, what's there? And nothing came. So
and you'll still be waiting. That's 2025's MLS Cup champion spot right there.
Yeah. Well, as long as we get out of 13th, we're good.
Well, there was plenty of experience in 13th and 2023,
exactly.
But luckily this is the first game of the season, and yes, it was not pretty. It wasn't like even entertaining. It just was kind of blah. Like I mentioned, the game started and kind of immediately you could tell that something was kind of amiss, right? So I could tell within the first maybe 10 minutes, like, oh, this is not how I was expecting this to go. Credit to San Diego, they played their game, they played it well. But yeah, in the first 15 minutes, San Diego had 61% of possession. So that's kind of when I was like, this isn't looking good. But for you, when did you realize something's off?
Yeah, when I tweeted after the first 10 minutes, I was like, first 10 minutes, and San Diego is basically the one dictating the tempo. They were the ones dictating the game. They were the ones in our offensive zones. They were the ones making the channel runs. They were the aggressors, right? Yes, it's part of their style of play, but it looked like one team looked like the home team that just won MLS Cup, and the other team looked like the expansion team, and it's not what you thought it was. Right. And that's basically how I saw the beginning stages of that game, and really the whole first half, man. While Rob takes his drink. Sorry, I caught him at a bad time.
Yeah, you did come in a bad time. No, but that was my fault. No, I keep on saying this. It didn't look good. Like, it just. We'll tell you what Greg said, but that's what just kept going through my head. Like, this isn't looking good. I don't like the movement, don't like the understanding, don't like the connections. And yeah, well, it told eventually. Unless you were living under a rock and you didn't catch it, the Galaxy did fall to San Diego in their first ever game, 2-0, in front of a sellout crowd of 25,244 Angelinos on Sunday. It marks the first defeat at the Digs in 21 matches played, dating back to October 21st, 2023. So that's the first one for them, a first loss for us in quite a while. Goddess has completed 75 of 80 passes for 94% pass completion. He won a game high 14 possessions and won 11 of 19 duels and won 4 of 8 tackles against San Diego. And Lucas Sanabria made his MLS and Galaxy debut, logging 63 minutes of action, won 4 of 6 duels. But there's a lot of questions for me, Anada, about this starting lineup. We debated it with the Nag boys. We were wondering who was going to take that midfield start. Was it going to be Royce? Was it going to be Winder? Who was it going to be? It ended up being Marco Royce. Give me your thoughts on the lineup.
Well, you're always the ones asking the question. So let's debate this, man. Hindsight's always going to be 2020. I want to preface any conversation about this like that, right? It's always easy when you lose a game to look back in the rearview mirror and say, "Oh, yeah, we got that completely wrong." But let's talk about the goalie, man, because that's the big point of contention right now. There's two, actually. One that I realized maybe a couple hours ago, looking at all the chatter around this guy. But I think the first one was Mitrovic, right? And look, we'll talk about the mistake and everything like that later. But would you have still started him? Look, I would have still started this guy 9 times out of 10, because if you have that much conviction that that's your number one goalie, that's your number one goalie, and you ride or die with that decision, right?
Yeah, I'm not mad at the decision. He made some really, really good saves. Who knows if J-Mac would have made the same saves? Fine shot stopper as well.
Right.
But Mikovic made some really good saves. We're going to debate this one on whether it was his mistake or not. But I would have started Mikovic. However, I would not have started Marco Royce, but those aren't my decisions to make. Just based on the evidence that I saw in CVI and just lack of playing time and fitness. That's what I would have gone with.
I was gonna say, Adam in chat says Vanny underestimated San Diego by starting Mitrovic a goal. I don't think that's the case, man. Rob and I covered this team in the CVI, and it was pretty clear. Coming out of that, we were both under the assumption that hey, it looks like Mitrovic is his guy based off of the minutes, right? That both keepers were getting. Remember, Rob, that last game, McCarthy was in his training gear. He didn't even suit up, right? And that was a big sign to me that said, okay, this is Vanny's guy. We're starting with Mitrovic. Remember the investment we made in this guy, guys. $1 million. I don't think you make that type of investment to not make him your future keeper. And it's just one of those things where Vanny wanted to start that process now rather than keeping things in a gray area, right? So for that, I commend Vanny at least to being decisive. Hindsight, it's always 2020, like I said. And right now, it looks like that decision is not paying off. But again, it's like you said, we're not Vanny. We don't see these guys in training every day. There's got to be some reason that Vanny's sticking with this guy, right?
No, absolutely. The investment, and he just got the bulk of the minutes in the CVI. I don't think, and you've shown this with stats, that there's a drop off between Mikovic and John McCarthy. I think they're both fine keepers. You could have gone either way, but Greg seems to want to go with Mikovic. That seems to be his guy. So I'm gonna take the MLS Cup winning coach at his word. And again, I don't get paid to go ahead and pick the team. So, for me, I'm not mad at the decision. I'm more kind of, not miffed, but kind of like, that Royce started. XPH says, aside from a few flashes, the class and high soccer Q is there, but is Royce having a rough time adjusting to the league and system, including last season? I don't even think it's that, XPH. I just think that he doesn't have his legs under him yet. He doesn't have full fitness. We saw him in the CVI, and he just played 45 minutes, and Vanny told us that he was going through a couple of things, and so no, he just isn't there yet. I think he will get there, and I think he's gonna be fine. But there's other.
But I was gonna say, Rob, I don't even see him as a. This might be harsh, but I don't. Other than maybe like a CONCACAF Champions Cup final, I don't ever see him playing 90 minutes, like ever. Like I don't think he's there anymore, Rob. He's already, he's at that age where I don't know how old he is, 33, 34, something like that. He's already at that, the downward stages of his career. And I don't think it's reasonable to expect that type of output out of him. Even like 70, 80 is asking a lot of Marco Reus, right? So I don't think he'll ever get there. So I don't think that's a reasonable expectation to have, to be honest, in my opinion. And the other thing too is I feel like not just, I know that Herb says that the, XPH said that the class and high IQ is there. It's definitely there. And I think one of the things, I'm going to talk about this later, but it's like, putting Marco Reus in positions to succeed and having the right players around him and having the right balance in that midfield. You remember, Rob, when Marco Reus made his debut, he was next to Ricky Puig and he had that chemistry with Ricky like instantly. I want to say that was against Atlanta. Can't remember that his home debut. But he was involved in both of those goals in the second half, right? He completely changed the game, flipped the game on his head. That's because he had that instant chemistry, that instant magic with Ricky. And I don't think he's built that yet with his other midfielders. And so that's definitely a problem for Vanny to solve. The talent and the quality is there. I just think the balance right now and the chemistry is off, especially in that midfield.
You can say that again. Normally I wouldn't have complained about the defense. However, they were at fault for the first goal. And, we'll talk about a little bit more about whose fault it might have been. But this first goal comes off of a defensive mistake. I'll read you guys what the official stat line reads is Emilio Garces' heavy touch fell to Irving Lozano inside the box. Lozano quickly laid the ball off to Dreyer, whose first-time shot was fired past Novak Mikovic. Now, let's break this one down because your co-hosts have been kind of debating this one for the last couple hours and certainly since yesterday. So, Ananda, you seem to think that this is on Mikovic. Let us know why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the replay right here, but if you guys just go back and watch the highlights, I mean, look, well, the funny thing is there was an error before this, and we'll get to that in a second. On second and third glance, right, which I didn't catch obviously live or even right after the game. I just was focused on the play as soon as the ball got to Michovic's feet. But look, man, I mean, you've got a guy maybe 10 yards away from you. Now, we have not played in a professional level, granted, right? But we have played enough ball on Saturday to be like, well, number one, if you're going to give me that short of a distance of a pass, you better not fizz it in the air, like chest to head high, for me to miscontrol it, especially when a defender is, well, granted, Chucky Lozano wasn't like right next to him, but they were closing down space quick, right? And especially if you're not under pressure, like there's no reason to hit that ball, kind of like scuff it or scoop it with your left foot and give that type of pass. And that's just, again, my opinion. So I think, look, if I'm going to cop out, I guess, and say it is both players' fault, but I'm going to give more of the blame to Mitrovic because he was the one that put Garces in that position. Now, Garces is a professional player. Yes, he should have a better touch and maybe have a better trap. But if, number one, he shouldn't have been put in that in that position to begin with. And number two, he's probably like wasn't even ready. Like you have to like, and see, this is the thing. This is the interesting thing about Mitrovic versus McCarthy, right? And this is the thing about young goalkeepers that I think this is where the maturity comes from, is like it's situation recognition, right? And that's like very like, that's things that you practice, you have to do it a repetition, but it's like, if you notice that you're under the cosh, San Diego is right on you, that's a high pressure team, maybe there is another option, or maybe you hold it for just a second and make the defense react to you before you hit that pass, right? So there's a lot of things there, but I feel like at the end of the day, Mitrovic puts his teammate out to dry. And that's, and like I said, it's just the velocity and just the distance of that pass, it just made no sense. Like if I was Garces, I would have been mad pissed at my keeper for giving me that pass, right?
You mentioned, interestingly enough, Saturday footy, which we always play together. And I know for damn sure that if I had misplayed that ball just like that, the entire team, the Frenchman on the team, Mosca, everybody would be insulting me to high hell. Like, what the F are you doing? Like, why didn't you trap that right?
And I know it because I've seen it happen. Because I've seen it.
Right. And I'm not a professional, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, you kind of said, I'm going to kind of cop out. I don't think it's cop out to say that they were both at fault. But I think what Mike Ray very succinctly says, Mikovic's pass was poor, but not fatal. Garza's trap was a fatal mistake. I don't know why he tries to take it off his foot. I mean, it's at least like stomach to not chest level high. Why doesn't he chest it off? Or for me, he's not positionally aware of where he is. He needs to be a little bit more open. He has a little bit more room on the touch line to go out. You mentioned that Mikovic wasn't under pressure. He was under pressure. I mean, all these players were under pressure. I mean, you have a player just right out there that was just looking at him and turned around, right? So for me, it's yes, it's a bad pass. It should have come on the ground. If it comes at all, it should have come on the ground, right? But at the point where Gaddis's notice is like, oh, this is not a good ball, you either let it run and go to the touch line, or you take it off your chest. And then again, if I had trapped that ball like that, everybody on the Saturday team would have been just like yelling at me. So the touch is bad.
The touch wasn't terrible. It was the slip that absolutely killed him. It was the slip.
Yeah.
It was
okay. I'll give you that. I'll concede that.
And the other thing was like that ball again. I have to replay it again, but that brawl was, if it wasn't like 10 feet in front of him, he probably didn't need to reach out with his leg, right? Yes, he could have swiveled and all that stuff, but this is the thing, man, and this is why this Mitrovic McCarthy thing to me is really interesting, right? And I'm just leaving the graphic up there so that, I mean, look at, man, at least at this point, maybe when the ball gets to his feet, whoever that is in the middle there, that might be Dreyer. He might be a little bit closer, maybe in between Cirillo and Mitrovic. But at that point, he wasn't under any pressure, to be honest with you. Like he really wasn't. Like it wasn't like Dreyer was in the 6-yard box already or anything like that. So, anyways, but the thing about
hold on, the sequence though. The sequence is Mikovic to Cirillo, and then Cirillo goes back to Mikovic.
Right, exactly. Right. So this is when he was facing coming.
But right, he was facing pressure though. When it came out, like when it gets to him, he was facing pressure. And then as the ball's played back out, you see that player that's kind of in between Cirillo and Maya turn around, but then you see Dreyer right there about to go pressure the ball. So maybe he could have taken a touch or a feint or something like that. But I mean, like I said, I believe that it was Garces. You believe that it was Mikovic, but I think we're both in agreement that this never should have happened. I mean, I think that the pass shouldn't have come to Mikovic from Cirillo. If you see this graphic, this was I believe Total Galaxy. No, not Total Galaxy.
Galaxy Fan Talk.
Galaxy Fan Talk. Shout out to y'all. They put this graphic up to show you that Cirillo has options here. Not only does he have the short pass to Maya, who was coming up and playing into space, but he has Nelson there on the left-hand side as well. So if you look at the next graphic, Mikovic is even letting him know, play to Nelson, play to the side. So for me, if really you got to blame anybody, it's the Galaxy's positioning, and it's this pass that comes into Mikovic instead of going out to Maya and Nelson or perhaps Nelson. And it's very weird because this, I mean, yeah, I gotta say it, like maybe Cirillo doesn't play the correct pass, so it's kind of stumping because he didn't really make these kinds of mistakes last year. So I gotta think that just the positioning of everybody was off to the point that he really had no, I guess, awareness himself of where his teammates were going to be, so he could play the correct pass. Yeah, exactly, because he plays the pass back to Mikovic rather than play it out to Nelson or Maya.
Okay, so now see, this is where I go back. Sorry, I'm just fixing my little camera there. This is where I go back to the Mitrovic McCarthy thing, because Rob and Mike, and I know there's whoever's a goalkeeper in chat or play goalkeeper, definitely shout out Goalkeepers Union, and you guys definitely put your says in this as well and your thoughts. But I think there's something to be said about a goalkeeper giving confidence to his back four and his defensive line and his defensive midfielders. Okay, right? And I think there's something to be said about sending a signal with how you deliver the ball to someone, whether you're a goalkeeper to a defender, whether you're a defender to a midfielder. I got to look at it a little closely, and I'm going to be watching a lot more tape because, of course, of the Gatácticos episode that's coming up, even though I'm going to be paying a little closer attention to the midfield. But I feel like maybe Mitrovic is sending that kind of nervous energy unintended to his back four, just with how he's signaling to his passes, right? Whether they're either not on the money or maybe it's that, and maybe it's a lack of communication. I don't know. I'm speculating right now, but I'm coming up with these things because things like this didn't happen last year, right? It just didn't. And if I want to recall, am I wrong in saying, Rob, that maybe it was this season or last season the CVI, Mitrovic had like maybe it was last year with Alfaro. I seem to remember something around the CVI where he made a similar mistake out of the back. But again, young goalkeepers tend to make these sort of not defensive, but decision type of lapses, right? And I think that's the part of young goalkeepers' games that needs to develop, especially with Vanny saying that, he asks his goalkeepers to do quite a bit. So, no, this is a fun debate, man. Look, at the end of the day, we both agreed that this was a mistake that completely flipped the game
compounded. It was compounded errors that led to a goal that, yes, flipped this game. I like this one. I like this one a lot.
And that's my point.
Talking about the difference.
That's my point, right? Yeah, like they're under the cosh. Yes. When in doubt, kick it out. Yes, we clown on McCarthy's distribution. I'm gonna raise my hands because I do it because it
always be throwing.
Looking at always be throwing, but his situation recognition is really good, right? And that's what him and his leadership and communication, all the soft things, proof's in the pudding. He led us to MLS Cup, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Interesting debate though. I think this one's gonna be fun to watch, man, for the season to see how these performances either pick up or drop off and what the consequences of those are with the goalkeeper rotation. Super interesting.
Yeah, and you're right. It did turn the game on its head. It was the defining moment for me of the match anyway.
Yeah.
And the Galaxy didn't respond well to it. This comes in the 52nd minute. And from there, the Galaxy, had just a lot of the ball, but didn't do too much with it. And San Diego looked to hit on the counter, which eventually they did. In the 93rd minute, they get a breakaway. Thomas Angels is running on Mickey Yamane. Mickey Yamane does a good job to stand him up, but Thomas Angel has the presence of mind, basically, to have the patience to wait for his winger to roll up, sips a pass behind the Galaxy defense. And Dreyer, who got the first one, Anders Dreyer, he kisses this one on the underside of the bar for the 2-0. And at that point, I looked out under the crowd, and fools just started walking out. And at this point, 93rd minute, 2-0 down, it's kind of hard to believe in a comeback, even though the Galaxy gave the fans that a bunch of times last year. And that's all she wrote. 2-0. That's all she wrote on the home unbeaten streak, and that's all she wrote on any kind of party for that evening. Galaxy fans were in fine fettle before the match and after the match. I mean, I walked out and saw a couple, and they were definitely sad foo hours. They had in Colombia lo llaman las cortavenas, like the sad foo hour songs, and everyone was just sad and drinking their modelos, and I was like, damn, that's
Modelo fools.
Yeah, Modelo fools. But this is a couple of match stats from this one. The loss against San Diego marked the Galaxy's first defeat, like I mentioned, in 21 matches dating back to October 21st. They entered the match on a 15-game winning streak across all competitions, in which they outscored their opponents 45-19 in that stretch. Interestingly enough, Ananda's called this out a couple of times, and we'll get to this in a moment. They haven't been scoring in this game, in the last game. However, there were a couple of notables here. 3 Galaxy players made their debut. Christian Ramirez made his debut, as well as Lucas Sanabria, we mentioned earlier, and Elijah Winder came off the bench, and he logged 27 minutes of action. So this one is a big one for San Diego. They're going to be able to crow about this one all season until the Galaxy and San Diego face off again, which will happen on May 24th, Saturday. And that one's going to be in San Diego. So I already heard the calls for, white out the white out the Snapdragon Stadium. Traveling support's got to be heavy.
I'm definitely gonna be wearing white if I go there because it's gonna be bacon. Absolutely bacon.
You said bacon. Yes. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about like the big moment that led to the turnaround, but the underlying stats also kind of support this victory for San Diego. Nando, what do you got for us here?
Yeah. By the way, thank you to the Galaxy Comms team for providing these stats. So this is basically the box score, guys. I'm just going to go through the key ones, and then I'll highlight the ones that I thought were interesting and sort of double click on those. But possession 51-49. I mean, a pretty even game. But if you think about the 2024 version of the LA Galaxy, this is not a good stat, right? Usually we outpossess teams and dictate the play. 1.9 expected goals for San Diego to 0.78 for the Galaxy. 9 total shots for San Diego to 7 for the Galaxy. 6 of theirs on target, 3 of ours on target. This is the other thing too, Rob. So passes 552 to 531. We typically outpass and again outmaneuver teams with our passing ability. We dictate the play. That was not the case in this particular game. 87% pass accuracy for both. Passes in the final third, 133 for the away team and 106 for the home team. And this is what I was saying, man. Like, if I look at this both from the eye tests and from the stats, one team, which was the home team and which was the away team? Which was the team that
help us?
Yeah, which was the team that just won MLS Cup and which is the team that's the expansion team, right? You couldn't tell out of these stats. Even corners won, man. They had 3 corners in the first, I think, 20 to 25 minutes of the game. I felt like I saw Chucky taking 3 corners on my side in like the first, 15, 20 minutes. And what did I tell you about corners, man? It's one of those stats where if you get a lot of corners, that just shows the attacking intent, and that they're spending a lot of time in your zone, right? You're spending a lot of time defending. But I did want to point out these stats because I thought these were the most interesting to me. But if I take a look at a little deeper, Rob, you mentioned that great stat earlier about 61% in the first half of San Diego possession. Yeah, they ended up the first half with 59% possession. Again, that's very, very uncharacteristic of an LA Galaxy team. I feel like the last time that happened was possibly Seattle in the Western Conference Final, but that Seattle will do that to you, right? If you face a good team like that, they'll do that to you, but that's typically not the norm for the LA Galaxy. And on the expected goals front, man, we created next to nothing. And here's another stat for you. San Diego created 4 big chances. Well, we only created 1, right? And the Galaxy last year, Rob, remember, I always pull out, sort of after the 10 match mark, I always pull out those stats of who's leading in XG, who's leading in big chances. The Galaxy were in the top 3 for most of the season last year. And now, we're getting outshot or outchanced in terms of big chances. And here's another one for you, man, that shows, at least to me, sort of where the match was played and how San Diego dominated and dictated the play. San Diego had 236 passes in our half, while we only had 192. That's 40 less passes. So we know from that, that they were dominant in our zone, and they were the ones that put the fingerprints on this game, and we just couldn't catch up to it for some reasons that we'll talk about just in a second.
Yeah, well, we post-match, my colleague Damian Calhoun point blank asked Greg about his substitutions and how the team looked a little bit better in the second half, and if he perhaps got his lineup right. And Greg said whenever you lose a game, you can always have second thoughts about who you start. But I mean, we already talked about the lineup, right? I mean, for me, Marco Royce needed to come on as a sub. I don't think he's all the way fit, all the way there yet. I really did think they looked better when Elijah Winder, Miguel Berry, Julian Aude, and Ramos Jr. Came on. But the starting lineup, I believe it was a Podfather who mentioned that only 5 of the 11 starters from MLS Cup started in this match, right? So you're going to have a team that doesn't really know each other yet. There was for as much as Greg has spoken about that they're in a more in preseason they were like in a more advanced position than they were last year. There was a core of players that were already there, and then you had people like Mark Delgado, who is the system incarnate, basically like the walking system on the pitch, right, for Greg. And then you throw in the other departures, Jalen, Gaston, Dayon, and you don't have those difference makers that you used to. So it's
it's not only that, Rob. It's we're losing players that have played under Vanny in previous seasons, right? And now we're bringing completely new players that have not played under Vanny ever, versus reintegrating or rebooting with a team that had Marky Delgado that played for Greg for two teams. Dejan Jovic, he's been in this Galaxy system for a few years. So we're betting in completely new players. And I think looking back at this, maybe we over-index sort of the system or the merits of Greg Vanny's system, how strong it was, and where we're starting off, and we under-indexed maybe the time that it needs to bet in completely new players to a completely new system.
It's time, but also Greg pretty much told us point blank, like there was people weren't where they needed to be. Basically, it boils down to. I mean, he let us know that the team was disconnected and disjointed. His words, not mine. And that they were having a hard time progressing the ball because of that. And you're going to suffer if you don't follow the game plan. And if they're disconnected, disjointed, as we saw on the goal, they were positionally out of sorts. You're not going to have success because you're not employing the coach's game plan and the system. I mean, so yes, there is an element of maybe, like you said, over-indexing, but no, I don't think it's the case that it's the system's fault. I think it's these players didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't do what they needed to do. Maya said they prepared well all week.
And to be honest with you, and maybe I haven't seen this enough, at least from the reading that I've done, but massive credit to San Diego. San Diego forced us into those mistakes. San Diego's game plan was on point. They figured out what the Galaxy's weaknesses were, and they pinpointed that, and their game plan worked to perfection. So I don't think enough credit has been given to San Diego, given the odds that were against them. Rob, 13% win percentage. We went through the odds with Tony when we had on, right? They were, no one had them winning this game. And so I think we've got to give San Diego a lot of credit, and we just got to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, no, credit where credit's due. I spoke to Tony Sanchez afterwards, and this is before San Diego had scored the killing goal, the 2-0. And we were talking about it, and I was like, San Diego won this one, man. On to the next one. And he told me, it's more like the Galaxy, lost it rather than San Diego won it, because they just didn't play their game. Yeah, they did not play their game. The homie G-Cam says, absolutely trust the process. They will iron out the kinks. It just takes time. Absolutely. I believe that as well. This team, this team is going to suffer those growing pains. I mean, we saw what this team looked like. They will get it right. I don't expect it to come overnight, however. Hopefully they have enough there to progress into the next round of the Champions League and pick up a couple points between here and the time Joseph comes back. But I think by the time Joseph comes back, they'll mostly have it figured out, or at least, knock on wood,
I hope so.
That they do. I mean, I think they'll get it right, though. Ananda, anything else to add on this one?
Well, I was just going to say that the process, when obviously this term gets bandied about, and we've kind of beat it to death. But I think the process is going to look a lot different this year than it did last year, Rob. Like I said, we're integrating completely new players, right? Now, that's not to say that Gabriel Peck and Joseph Painto weren't completely new players, but the nucleus and the core guys, and remember, these guys had experience. Dejan Jovic, he had a few years of experience already in MLS. Marky Delgado, a seasoned veteran. Gaston, a seasoned veteran. Jalen Neal's been through the LA Galaxy Academy, right? Martin Cáceres, a World Cup winner. He was with the Galaxy for a few seasons already. So I think it's just the fact that we are betting in completely new players, a guy from USL, a young guy from a young prospect from Uruguay. I think it is going to take a little more time than we think. But like you said, I think the Galaxy, I don't know when, but hopefully sooner than later, I think, they'll start buying into or executing Greg's game plan, as you like to call it, hopefully sooner than later, like I said.
But this was a needed wake-up call, I believe. And it's better that it happened in the first game of the regular season than in the playoffs, when any mistake can knock you out and end your season, right? There's still, as Big Heck says, guys, one game, there's 34 more. It's useless to panic. Yeah, I believe there's 33 more now, but Schnapps. Let's try to get that extra game back, right? But no, I mean, they're
Mulligan.
yeah, exactly. No, it is useless to panic. There's 33 other games left. It's a long season.
Long season.
Last year the season ran from February to December, right? So it was 11 months. So we're gonna be forgetting about this moment in like a month or 2 months, especially if the Galaxy do get it together and go ahead and keep it pushing and start looking like the Galaxy of old. But you know what? Last year there was a moment of adversity as well, Nanda, in the last game of the season, that loss to Houston, which seemed for a moment like calamity, and then it ended up being the best thing for the Galaxy because they got the stronger side of the table. And not only that, it was that needed wake-up call for them. We had an opportunity to ask Greg about this post-match, and the need to basically defend that championship all over again, right? And kind of have like this moment of clarity, like no one's going to give us anything. And this is what he had to say to us.
I believe that's true. I also believe that the Galaxy are always going to probably get everybody's best shot. Everybody likes to beat the Galaxy, and because of the club that it is, that's something you deal with all the time. I think being champion for sure. I think part of it is we had some significant changes over the course of the off season that we've got to settle our group in and really figure out exactly how this group is going to be successful at the moment without Gabe, without the guys that we have, which is something we need to adapt to, starting with me and the guys as well, and integrate guys in, because again, I think it looked a little disjointed and it didn't look like we were ready for what the situation was. And so we've got to continue to build and prepare and get better with each training session each day, and be more ready for the next one than we were tonight. Each guy understanding their positions and their roles a little bit clearer than we were. So, but back to your point, I think being champion is very difficult to go back to back in this league, and teams are going to give you their best, especially a new franchise that's down the street that's been preparing for this moment for years now, and they certainly came out with the right energy and emotion and had a good game. Good credit to them. They've done a lot of good work in a short period of time.
Yeah, Christian Ramirez spoke to us as well, and we had a chance to talk to him about what it meant, basically what this match meant, and what it might mean to the Galaxy as they're defending their title. And he said it becomes a championship game for teams to prove themselves against us. So just stay level-headed and understand the moment, and not get too high or too low, and not focus too far ahead, and enjoy this process. It's a little bit of a curse of the championship opening day to let that sort of slow us into the season. Maya kind of addressed it as well, and Maya's not one to like really overreact or anything like that. But I mean, I told my wife, I was like, you could tell that he was very upset. He didn't curse, he didn't act out, he wasn't even like overtly like showing it, but you could just tell in his words and and what he was saying that he was not happy. He said that it was the players basically hearing San Diego celebrate like they had just won a cup final, and for them it's their first game, it's their first game ever, so it is a big occasion. They're always going to be able to say San Diego beat the champion Galaxy in their first ever match. So but yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to get all season. Teams trying to take down the champion and giving the Galaxy their best because they want to take down the champion. I mean, you already saw rival fan bases band together to basically clown on the Galaxy, even though there's one match and other rivals can't sell out their stadiums. But I digress.
But that's the thing, right? Will even said it last year, Rob, and we hadn't even won anything yet. But he said, I think he remarked on one of your comments that we made on a previous pod that said, everyone hates the guy on top. Everyone hates the Galaxy. Absolutely. And he's like, of course. I had that with the Yankees. The Galaxy are the most storied franchise. That's won the most MLS Cups. Of course you're going to be the most hated. And I think as fans, we should take that as a point of pride, because remember, before that, the 10 years before that, we were a little bit of a laughing stock. Let's not kid ourselves, right?
Yeah, and council again, message. I saw a couple Galaxy fans get at each other about this match. You got to remember, guys, you guys are all Galaxy fans, so stick together. There's plenty of hate out there from other organizations and rivals to go around, to have Galaxy fans fighting amongst themselves. Yeah, it was a crappy game. Yeah, it wasn't a good performance, but you don't need to compound it by fighting with each other. There's again a lot of hate already coming from rival fan bases, so stick together. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. But Ananda, after one game, I saw a lot of Galaxy fans kind of act like the season was over, I believe the term is throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I've never really understood what that meant, but I believe that's the term. After one match, in which admittedly by Greg and by the players, they didn't look good. Should Galaxy fans be worried? Do you think these issues are systemic, or just like we mentioned a couple moments ago, they just need to gel a little bit, and these are temporary growing pains?
Yeah, I'm gonna let chat address that. So chat, let me know what you guys think, man. We put it up on the screen there. Just a blip or the new norm? I think I might sit on the fence on this one, and I think it depends on a lot of things. I think it's TBD. Right now, I think it's just a blip. But if this becomes a pattern, and we have, let's say, I don't know, a 2-8 record, or we only get less than 10 points after the first 8 or 9 games, like that's when it becomes okay. That's when you start turning your head, right? But at this point, echoing your earlier sentiment, I don't think we can overreact over one game. Again, I'm starting to look at the footage, and maybe there might be some systemic things that could, this is more like tactical things, or maybe personnel things that we don't have yet, because we are missing. That's the other thing, guys. Like, we are missing 2 of our DPs. Josh always puts up those charts around DP utilization, and we're already starting off with the wrong foot, like a la 2023, right? Which is basically no DP utilization, or just 1 out of our 3 DPs. And in this league, if you don't have high DP utilization, you're not going to get that far, right? Your depth can only take you so far. And unfortunately, we had great depth last year before the salary cap handicapped us in that point. Ooh. So, but yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Even like with the offensive output, I called it, and I didn't want to put too much stock in it because I thought it was preseason. But the fact that the starters didn't score in the last 30 minutes against Minnesota and the CVI, and then they pitched a shutout, right? Or they couldn't score against Chicago in 90 minutes. That gave me a little bit of concern, not so much with the finishing ability, but with just the ball progression and the way we're creating chances. And Greg uses this term a lot, like the dynamic or the dynamicism of the attack, or lack thereof in this case.
I had an opportunity to ask him about the basically the dynamism in this game. And I straight out asked him, like we saw a really fine Diego Ramirez, like fit and firing in preseason. They didn't really seem to get a lot of the ball. Was that by design? Like, what was going on there? As you guys could tell, they were focusing a lot on Gabriel Peck getting the ball, but on the other side, virtually nothing. This is what Greg had to say to me.
A lot of it's positional things that I didn't like about how we were set up. I felt like there was a lot of times where Diego's a little bit on an island on the outside, and he didn't have support around him and somebody that he could play off of and work with. I felt like the spot and the position that was supposed to be there to helping was constantly leaving and moving into other areas of the field, trying to find ways to get involved in the game. And so in the first half, we were trying to adjust maybe who might be in that gap to help him. So I just felt like he was isolated a lot, and that was, that's something that, again, has to improve in all of this stuff, where I didn't see the isolation during the course of preseason, and then we get to the game, and then things start, people are moving and trying to get involved in ways that break sort of the structure and change sort of the picture of what's supposed to be happening. So that's something that has to be worked, because Diego out there on his own is not going to accomplish the things that we need Diego to accomplish. He's a guy who plays in collaboration with 2 or 3 other players, and he's a guy who connects and combines and runs off of and does very smart tactical things. He's not a guy who's going to go one-on-one and and dominate his side on his own. So again, I go into structurally some things that we hadn't seen in preseason. I felt like we saw some of those things tonight, and those are things that have to be cleaned up.
Yeah, no, we've already talked about these issues and the reasons for them. I mean, injuries, departures. It is going to take some time, so I don't think it's really fair to keep beating a dead horse. Can these issues be solved quickly? I don't believe so. I'd be very surprised if they come out and look like last year's Galaxy in the next match. Adrian Rutella says this is a blip. It's clear Galaxy needs to do whatever they need. They can to keep Ricky as long as possible. No identity without him. Got to pivot to find one until returns.
This is a really good comment. I wanted to flash this up, Adrian, because you bring up a really good point. And this is sort of what my takeaway, and this is what some of the things that Alex and I are going to explore tactically in this midfield video, which is this is my biggest question mark or question marks for Greg and his coaching staff, which is, Rob, we've seen what the identity was without Ricky Puig in a one-off MLS Cup final game with Mark Delgado and Gaston Brugman. But the question is, what is your solution and what is your identity going to be in a 34, well, potentially 34, maybe 30 game or whenever Ricky gets back season, right? Without your, seasoned vets and seasoned pros like Mark Delgado, Gaston Brugman, who understand your system, right? Like, what is the solution to augment that style of play in order to win games without Ricky and JP in the next 6 to 8 weeks or however long JP's out, and without Ricky in the next 6 to 8 months? And the question of, is this a blip or is this systemic, or are there systemic issues? This is temporary, is how quickly we get to that solution and then how sustainable that solution is, right? And I think this is where, we'll get to see what Sanabria, what Winder, what these guys bring to the midfield and how Greg, puts these midfields together. Maybe there might be different horses for different courses. Maybe some games, like maybe Vancouver on the turf against a Vanni Sartini team or against that type of team, right? That play, a fast-paced style. Maybe Winder is a better, midfield solution versus Royce. And maybe there's other games where mid to low blocks, maybe Marco Royce is that guy that needs to unpick the lock. So I think this is going to be interesting, man. And this is what Greg Vanny, I think, has to figure out over the next few weeks is, and he's credited his team all last year. Remember, he loves his quote about this team being able to find solutions, where he's going to have to find some solutions really quick, especially in that midfield area.
I'm going to say this one again. I said it a couple weeks ago. Bring back Johnny Pettis. That's all I got to say. Other notes from the press conference. There's no natural winger to spell. So, I mean, do you bring him back, for just 6 to 8 weeks? No, but like if in an ideal world, you do have Johnny Pettis on your lineup to go ahead and give you an option.
Oh, yeah. Gary, you're right. Tartini was let go. Hey, Pedro Vite scored a banger, though. I saw that.
Ooh,
I did say that.
My countryman, right on.
Yeah.
Go on, Pedro Vite. Other notes from the press conference is Greg let us know that JP, Joseph Paintsel, is a couple weeks away. So, hopefully that's sooner rather than later. But he did counsel that they want to go ahead and give him the time to heal so they can have him all season rather than, being in and out of the lineup. He did let us know that hopefully Mateus Nascimento will be involved by the weekend. They said that it was visa issues. They were hoping to get it done by the game, but didn't happen. So hopefully they'll have him by the weekend. And defending the badge. Chat, go ahead and let us know who your defending the badge winner was. We have our 4 candidates here. One of them was Elijah Winder. He had his debut, 91% pass accuracy, 3 passes into the final third, and 2 duels won. Mickey Yamane created a game high 4 chances, won 4 of 4 tackles, completed 63 of 72 passes, 9 passes into the final third, 5 duels won, 1 clearance, 2 interceptions, and 4 recoveries. Miguel Berry, as one of your candidates, he had that one big chance that would have basically tied to the game. A good pass by Yamane. I don't really think that's Miguel's fault, though. He was in the right spot.
No, that was great. That was great. I was really rooting for him, and that would have flipped the game on its head for sure. And this is, you know, again, guys, we lost 2-0, but this is fine. These are the fine margins in this game, right? Miguel Berry scores that, and it's a different ball game, man.
Yeah, we're talking about a completely different game.
Yeah.
At the moment, it most likely ends 1-1. So Miguel Berry is one of your candidates, and Novak Mikovic, who made 4 saves against San Diego FC. I really think Mikovic,
some damn good saves.
Yeah, he keeps us from being 3-4 to nothing. Actually,
I agree.
We're going to go ahead and give you guys the winner here in a moment. But Ananda, who would you have picked for defending the badge in chat? Go ahead and let us know who your defending the badge winner is, and then we'll give you the official tabulation here. Ananda, since I went first last time, go ahead and go.
Oh God, you went first last time deal. All right, well,
bro.
I'm gonna go.
Chat can vouch for me, bro.
I'm gonna go because I'm pretty sure you're not gonna pick my pick, because my pick is not on the screen. Surprisingly, Rob. My pick is actually going to be Captain Maya Yoshida. And there's really one reason and one reason only. Hearing his post-match thoughts, being the captain of this team, like you said, he was upset. He was visibly upset. But you know what? From his post-match comments and how he reacted, I think he took this defeat humbly. I think he's internalizing it and figuring out how to rectify the situation next time. And the biggest thing, and I've seen a lot of Galaxy fans praise this in socials, which is he's not making any excuses. He said they were crap. He said they were bad. And there's no excuses, whether it's integrating new players and this and that. And he straight up said, you know, maybe they weren't prepared enough as they thought. And he made no excuses. And I like that attitude. I think that is part of defending the crest, right? Is having that humility, but also just keeping it real, keeping it a buck, and saying, hey, we were crap and we got to do better next time. So Maya Yoshida, man.
Yeah, that's accountability, and that's, you know, holding people to a standard as well. Yeah, mine's Mickey. You know, he played really well. I mean, he got 2 really good crosses in that should have ended in goals. Unfortunately, they did not. I do have an honorable mention, though, of somebody that's not on the screen, which is Julian Aude. I believe he came on and showed really well. He showed that kind of hunger that's like, I want my starting job back, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there's always that trade-off Greg's talked about. Is John Nelson is a more of a defensive defender or back, and then you have Julian Aude who gets into the attack a lot. But that, I think that's who you needed in this match to combine with Diego and support him right there on the wing. So yeah, those are my defending the badge winners. But there is an official winner as voted by you, the people. After 90 million votes, with 40% of it, Mickey Yamane wins your first defending the badge match day 1. Congratulations to Mickey. He was he was one of the bright spots in this match, and there weren't a lot. So MLS standings. I wish we didn't have to give this one to you, but after the first match of the season, the Galaxy holds a 0-1-0 record, 0 goals for, 2 goals against, 0 points, -2 goal difference, and in 13th place. And that's
I think I pulled this up from 2023, Rob. I'm pretty sure this is the 2023 Western.
No, because San Jose wouldn't be that far up. No, you're talking folly now. But Bruce got a lot of love from the San Jose faithful. Christian Espinoza went off with 3 assists. That I said it already. I was talking to the homie Fabi Rankle. Shout out, and I told him that Cali Clásico this year is going to be absolutely fire.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of brings us to the end, Ananda. I know you like to give last word to chat. What do you have for us?
Yeah, let's see. I started a couple of these comments, and I think these are good. So let's end it off with some chat reaction here. So Ant says, Royce is a super sub, would kill 30 to 45 solid minutes versus a lackluster 60 to 70. I think this is a really good point. And like I said, I think it's going to be interesting how Vanny picks and chooses his spots with Marco. We'll see, right? But he did not have a good performance. But again, I think some of that just has to do with putting the right pieces around him. I mean, Marco's not going to be the runner. You're going to have to put channel runners around him. You have to put a winder around him. Diego and Marco have very similar games, right? So again, against a low block, maybe that's cool, but against a high press or a highly athletic team, you know, your New York Red Bulls, your San Diego's, like we just saw, even your St. Louis's. I mean, Vanny's going to have some selection headaches. That's for sure. This is an interesting one. Clay Tucker, he did good in CVI. Look, I think if the midfield continues the way it is, there might be some guys that get a couple chances, Rob. Who knows? Ruben Ramos made his debut, right? I said Ruben was ahead of Tucker in the pecking order. So we'll see. We'll see on this one. And then he says, my only take from this game was IMO.
Sure.
Fans are overreacting a ton. Defensively, I don't think we need to worry. Offensively, look dead. Facts. But all in all, looks much like last year's start. Team will gel. Yeah, the only difference is we're not getting the points, right? And that's a huge difference from last year. Hopefully the team will gel. Pottermist says at times Galaxy players thought we were playing in blue. The amount of times we gave it away. This is a good point too, Rob, because I felt like there was a lot of unforced errors in that midfield, like just simple passes that we weren't connecting the passes, right? And then also just miscommunication, like, Gabriel Peck would make the run behind, but the pass would never come, or the ball would go over the top, but the player was checking in. Like those are very simple sort of chemistry things. And this just goes to Potter misses points. I think that's a really good point there. And XPH accentuates that point. I strongly believe chemistry plays a huge part on the Apple MLS show. You see them hanging out and having barbecue at Ricky's place. I mean, I don't know if the cameras are on this year, Rob, but this is a big thing, right? I tried to accentuate it as much last year. I think the off the field stuff, the camaraderie, those little groups that they have with the Spanish speaking crowd, and then even the others, right? Some of the veterans, Maya and Mickey, that goes a long way, man. The team picks, right? The victory picks that they had. I think all that stuff plays a huge factor. And I think we don't give enough credit to the soft stuff. Leo says it's the first game. We're bound to lose a game at home, especially after last year. My fear last year was that our first loss was going to be at MLS Cup. Nope, we did not. Gladly, I'd rather have them not have the pressure of being undefeated at home. And this is right, man.
Out of the way.
Just get it out of the way. Get it out of your system. Now we just have to look forward, right? And I'm just hoping that, like, the only other thing that I'll say about this, and I know you were there when I think you maybe spoke to Maya about this, I believe, which is what was that quote that you had from last year, Rob, with Maya, with the sign of a good team is not losing consecutive games.
Great teams don't lose 2 games in a row.
Exactly. I like that mentality. The only caution that I would throw in there is I hope that doesn't fuel any unnecessary pressure, especially to the young guys. I think the older heads like Marco, Maya, Mickey, they can handle that. But the young guys, like, just play your game. Like, stick to the game plan, go through training, go through your paces, and just one game at a time. I that's the only cautionary tale that I would give to that one. I like the intent. I like it, but again, just for the young players, I don't know if that's added pressure that they need at this point. And then GCam, just to cap it off, he says this team is going to have snags for sure, but if they grow from it, it'll be worth it. We'll also have a hella young midfield. Oh, very NorCal there, GCam. With the exception of Royce and Fagundes, a lot of young dudes down. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier about the pressure and the different sort of betting in process this year. The process is going to be different this year than it was last year. It's trust the process, but it's a different process.
Yeah, we've talked about it all pod. It's gonna take a moment. They're gonna need to gel. You're gonna get another new striker here, hopefully this weekend in Nacimiento. A couple weeks from now, JP is gonna come back, and it's going to look like a different side because Greg is gonna have those different options, right? Hopefully, message. He stays pragmatic, and Greg's always gonna play his system, but I want him to use what is at his disposal. I'd like to see that one. Raquinho says to trust the process, says GCam, and I agree.
Love it.
Trust Raquinho, trust the process. It got you MLS Cup last year, Galaxy fans. So we're gonna take it home now. Next episode, you guys are going to be hearing from us about the Vancouver match. That's going to be on Sunday, March 2nd at 2 p.m. The Galaxy travels to Canada for its first road match. That preview pod will be on Thursday, February 27th. And of course, we'll be reacting to that one on Monday, March 3rd. And hopefully it's not another sad 4 hours, but celebrating 3 points. Until we meet again, Lacuna Galaxians, go ahead and keep on subbing to this pod. Thank you so much for doing so. Blessings to all of you for getting us to 500. We really appreciate it. We love you for it. go ahead and check out that new Los Gatácticos video that's coming out soon with Ananda and El Profe Alex Reese to find out a little bit more about this midfield conundrum that Greg might be facing. And I think that about wraps it up. Yeah, Ananda?
Yes, sir.
Vámonos pues. All right, chat. Los queremos mucho. Los vemos hopefully at the Blue, White, and Gold prop-up. And if not, back at the digs. One thing left to say. Vamos campeones. LA strong. And G's up.